You think I'm going to talk politics, don't you? Nope. Jer's not going to talk politics. Instead, Jer is going to tell you about one of the most amazing interviews that he ever conducted. And I'll tell you about one of the most despicable videos that I ever conducted, because it's a story I would like to tell, and I've never heard anyone else address this subject. It has to do with two people that are considered magicians by some, and other people think they're mystical workers of miraculous miracles. Uri Geller from Israel, man who has an ability to bend keys and start watches and things like that. And the only person, well, actually there's two, that I actually told the producer during a break, will you help me get this guy out of the studio, because I don't want to continue the interview with him. And that's a guy named the Amazing Randi, who's still running around attacking Uri Geller. Now, I interviewed Uri Geller first. A couple weeks later, here comes the Amazing Randi, saying he can do everything that Uri Geller did. The amazing thing about Randi is what he did was nothing like Uri Geller did. I mean, we're talking the difference between a little tiny puddle of water and the Pacific Ocean. Big difference in the two. The tragedy with it is that on the radio it may have sounded like Randi was doing the same thing, but he was not. In fact, the word that came to mind was shyster and crook, and I asked the producer to get him out of the studio. We were done with the interview. When Geller came in the studio, and I tell you, there was something weird. Something weird. He came in a van, and we were in downtown Portland. There's not a lot of parking, but there was an insistence that the van be parked right outside of the studio. I thought that very strange, and I don't know if that has something to do with what Geller does. I really don't know. Geller came in by himself. There was no one else. And while the network news was on, we did some small talk like, you normally do. Hi, I'm Jerry. He says, I'm Uri. And we talked for a few minutes. And I had some water in the crystal of my watch. I don't know why, but I was into boating, you see. And there was water in the crystal. And Geller said, I can get that out of there. I said, oh, okay. So I watched, and he looks at the watch, and as he's looking at it, the water inside the crystal moved around in the crystal. And I said, this totally amazed me. And he said, oh, I can't get it out. But he moved it. I thought that really kind of strange. Then we started the interview. Geller said, well, shall we start bending spoons and things? And I had a bunch of spoons that were sitting on the table. And I mean, he didn't go into a trance or anything, but the spoons, the keys, and things started to bend. And he was not touching them. Bear in mind, he was not touching them. In my hand, I had a set of keys. One of the keys on the key ring literally bent while it was in my hand and I was holding it. That was pretty amazing stuff. Now I'm going to jump ahead here. Amazing Randi came into the studio a couple weeks later, mainly to discredit Uri Geller, and said he could do everything that Uri Geller did. Let me tell you, I saw both men perform, sitting right next to them. What the Amazing Randi did was so different than what Geller did, there is no comparison. We are talking a little tiny puddle of water on the kitchen floor compared to the Pacific Ocean. One, totally remarkable, not touching the keys, not touching the spoons. They bent. One in my hand. And when the Amazing Randi said, you hold the key and I will bend it. And as I'm holding the key, he rubbed the key. It got so damn hot that I dropped it. And he was touching it, even though it was in my hand. There's no comparison between what these two people do. They're not even close. As far as bending spoons, Randy brought in another guy. And Randy said, "Do you have a newspaper?" Well, we did. He said, Can you find a part of the newspaper where there's no ad on the back side?" So I'm thinking, as I'm looking at the newspaper, why does he have me look at a newspaper? Geller didn't do this. While he was doing that, his friend is on the table bending a spoon, physically pushing against the table. And it was at that point I decided the interview with Randy, the amazing Randy, who is not at all amazing, is over. And I told the producer, silently, quietly, that this interview is through. The guy's out of here. Because it's despicable what this guy did to Uri Geller's career. And he had admitted right at the beginning of the interview, he had admitted he had never seen Geller perform in person. I'm just amazed that he had such an effect on this Geller's career. And I just wanted to share that story. But there's more. There's more. I always had been complaining about a parking meter out in front of the studio. Geller bent the parking meter for me. Literally bent it by looking out the window. That's pretty remarkable. I was so impressed with Uri Geller, and not the least bit impressed with the amazing Randy. And the amazing Randy's always now running around trying to debunk this and debunk that, and saying he'll offer $1 million if anyone can prove there's any kind of thing that's mystical. I just wanted to share that with you today. There's another addendum. Is that the word, addendum, to the story? A couple weeks later, this is when I was married. It's before I threw my wife's cat. Marital advice from Jer to you, my dear friends. Never throw your wife's cat, even if it's an old cat. You can't throw a dog. I bet a cat, they meow across the floor. It really upset my wife. But we don't need to go into that. But I do like to share that with anybody who's married and wants to stay married. Just leave the cat on the floor. Do not pick it up and throw it. It went on the bed, by the way. But I was with my father-in-law with him, and he said, "Let me see that key that Geller built." And I handed him the key, and he bent it. He said, "I can bend it too." I guess he missed the point of the miraculous thing that Geller did. So I was very depressed. I mean, my key that I was showing everybody, the key that Geller bent, wasn't bent anymore. We were at scout camp with my kid, and late at night, sitting around the campfire, one of the kids screamed, "Look, look, look, my keys were sitting on top of the fireplace." One of the keys, the key that my father-in-law had bent straight and Geller had made bend, that key bent, and every one of the kids saw it do it. It's pretty amazing stuff. The bent parking meter, the bent key, compared to the sleight of hand done by the amazing Randy. It's so unfair. I just wanted to share that with you. So next time you see the amazing Randy, maybe you'll think he's not so amazing. And the next time you see Uri Geller perform, be aware that what Geller does is very amazing, if you'll excuse me.